Hey folks, it's the Blocky Dad here, and today we're doing something a little bit different. I am going to be walking you through a tutorial of a very interesting game, interesting to me, possibly notorious or infamous to others. And sometimes I feel like it's infamous as well, although I have kind of made a breakthrough on this game recently. And it's a game that I think has a reputation for being awful. Nigh unplayable, and I've gotten to the point where I can play this pretty well and felt like it was worthwhile to do a tutorial. I have more to say about this game than I could squeeze into a video description, or felt like squeezing into a video description, so hence this tutorial style video. The game originally published as Skindiver in the EU region in 1983 by a Taiwanese company called Sancho. You can see their label here. Under that company's North American imprint of Panda, it was published that same year as Scuba Diver. And then Froggo Games, who were kind of famous for ripping off earlier unsuccessful games, came along in 1987 and took the title and republished it in North America under the name Sea Hunt. So this is technically the Sea Hunt ROM that is just brazenly maintaining the Sancho 1983 label. But anyway, this game, and this is kind of what got me interested in it. I had played it a few times a couple of years ago, got immediately frustrated with it and gave up. Couldn't quite figure out what the objective was. The mechanics were just horrendous. Every time I was jumping out of the boat, what you see up here, this one of the first things you do in the game is you have to jump out of your boat, dive down, and start harpooning the fish. I was getting eaten immediately every time I jumped out of the boat, and there seemed to be no rhyme or reason to what was going on, and just frustrating, and I quit. So fast forward to a few weeks ago, I came across an older article at Digital Press, the online magazine that was established many years back by the now founders of the National Video Game Museum in Dallas, north of Dallas, a town called Frisco. Digital Press did put a list together some years ago on the worst Atari games ever. And on that list of, I think it's about 100 titles, they had Sea Hunt as the 15th worst Atari game of all time. That's saying a lot, considering that there were something like 900 games, I think, that were released on the system. So not sure if that's North American numbers or global, but needless to say, it's, this is old news to many of you probably, but it's part of why the gaming crash happened. Was just a flooded market, lots of bad games, among which this was considered one of those bad games. And so, but as I was reading this review, at first I thought, okay, vindication. I thought this game was awful. So did Digital Press. But there was a little blurb in their review that caught my eye. They made mention of a second game screen, which I had never seen, didn't realize was there. And they mentioned not ever being able to reach that screen themselves, that it was just a rumored second screen, a claim in the manual that they never were able to validate or verify. And I thought that was bizarre. And so I went back and read the manual for myself, learned a little bit more about the objective of the game, how to supposedly reach this second screen. And after fighting with this game for a few days, I finally kind of figured out some of its quirks. Only some, that's the key word here. This is a really maddening game. The movement logic of the fish, for example, and some of the other creatures in the second screen, which we will see momentarily, are just illogical. And don't follow patterns, and oftentimes things happen that are completely disadvantageous to the player and unfair. And we'll get to all of that. You'll see some of that in action as we start. But that's what we're going to do here. After that long intro, I'm going to turn up the volume. I have it turned down right now because there's some annoying music going on in the background. But I'm going to turn up the volume and walk through this game. And if I'm lucky, do something of a high score run, and we'll see where it goes. And I'll talk you through all the different nuances of the game. So. So that's that awful music. Now, the first thing to notice is that when you jump out of your boat, you want to make sure that these two fish on the top two rows are off to one side. Either side, doesn't matter, but make sure that they're off to one side and swimming away from center. And then you want to jump out the other side of the boat. And the reason why that's critical is because you are paralyzed as you dive. When you jump in, you are stuck. You cannot control your player. You're basically a sitting duck until you reach a certain depth, which is roughly this line, about halfway down. Once you reach that depth, then you regain control of your diver, and then that's when you have to start setting up your shots with your harpoon. And then there's some odd mechanics with the harpooning action as well, which we'll get to. But first and foremost, we're going to wait for an opening. And sometimes you have to wait about a minute for that to happen because these fish are... Okay, we got one. So there's one harpoon safely in. And you kind of have to... It's kind of weird. You have to harpoon these fish kind of below their nose, almost. It's kind of odd. If you don't get dead on line where you have to be, you'll end up overshooting the fish, and you're paralyzed as your harpoon goes out and comes back in, and so you end up getting eaten while sitting there watching your harpoon fly off into space. I'll demo that real quick here so you can see that in action. There you go. Stuck. So that was a little trial run just to explain some of the issues. Now, here's another problem with this game. Is sometimes when you're down in that what do you want to call it? I call it a portal sometimes. Whoop, just got eaten. This thing here, and this kind of gets to the one of the key mechanics of the game, is related to your objective. You want to harpoon all the fish, and then you have to descend down through this cauldron. I think they call it a cauldron in the manual. I can't remember, but it's like a portal essentially that leads down into this lower undersea treasure chamber, where there are some treasures along the ground of this underwater area, this deeper underwater area, and it's guarded by this slowly growing number of crabs that are kind of just roaming the space, and you have to collect these treasures and avoid them. You can't harpoon them like you can the fish, so it's just a function of avoiding them, evading them, collecting the treasure, coming back up through the cauldron and into this upper lagoon, and then worming your way through the fish back up to your boat. And once you achieve all that, you get a big, long point bonus. Some of you may have seen my short from a week or so ago showing that process and how long the point bonus takes to tick up. It's a huge point bonus. It's kind of amusing. But anyway, so that's the general idea. And there's some frustrating mechanics down in that second screen, which we'll talk about when we get down there. But first things first, waiting for it. Gonna get eaten. All right. Just when you think you've got an opening. All right, here we go. Another thing, I guess I'll explain this before, and then we'll do a reset. Oftentimes, you will harpoon all the fish, and then as soon as you get in that cauldron to go down to that lower chamber, another fish just appears right on top of you and instantly eats you, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's one of those just unfair mechanics of this game. That's kind of... Oops, see, there's the There's the lower chamber. We're not going to do anything down here yet. Actually, I'll go ahead and explain some of the quirks down here. So you saw when I came down, there was just the one crab. There's now two, and the longer you stay down here, the more crabs begin to appear in this, I don't know, spawning ground, whatever you want to call this, and it becomes more and more difficult to navigate the area and get to these treasures. I think I ran. Let's turn the volume down. One last thing I haven't mentioned yet is once you jump out of your boat, a 60-second clock starts ticking down. Some of you may have noticed that, but you've got 60 seconds to jump out of the boat, harpoon the fish, get through the cauldron down into the lower chamber, collect the treasures, back up through the cauldron, through the lagoon, back into your boat. You've got 60 seconds to do all of that. And if you don't, then you lose life. So, which is, I think, what happened there. But all of that said, let's reset this. Okay. And let's do something of let's attempt a run here. For the record, my high score in this game is 60,000. Whoops, already dead. Awesome. Another thing about this lower chamber that can be maddening, is you can get stuck on stuff down there. It's kind of reminiscent if you've ever played, good job, Blocky. It's reminiscent of Shark Attack or missed again, or Lockjaw from Apollo Games. If you've played that before, there's kind of a really frustrating mechanic in that game where you can easily get stuck in the maze. It's really maddening kind of dynamic. And that happens a lot down in this lower chamber. I've frequently gotten stuck on walls and in little passageways, just inexplicably stuck, and can't do anything about it. All right. So there's one successful cycle. We have to wait for this to count all the way up to, I think it's going to count up to between 11,500, 12,000 thereabouts. It kind of depends on the exact ending number, depends on how many fish you harpoon. I think 10,000 is the base point bonus for recovering the treasure. And then it's just, an extra 500 per fish harpoon. I think that's the scoring template. But, okay, here we go. All right, we're down. Just gotta wait for him to move. Whew. Close shave. Got lucky there. So this bonus should put me up to somewhere in the ballpark of 25,000, I think. Maybe a tad less. It just takes forever. And the only way to fast track that is to hit the fire button, which causes you to jump out of your boat without control of which side you jump out, and you'll probably end up just getting eaten immediately. So it's in your best interest just to wait for your score to count all the way up. Okay, 23.5. Oh, no! I knew it. Okay. Oh, that's what I get. Like I said, you're not dead on that center line or like right underneath the fish's nose, then you're screwed. Little things like that kind of make this for a really frustrating game, but if you can if you can learn those quirks and get good control within them, then you can go on a run in this game and kind of feel in control of the universe. And then, because it actually is a bad game, in my opinion, overall, you'll end up attempting the same thing. Oop, see, I'm stuck. Nothing I can do. I'm just stuck. Oh, hey, got out. Jeez. Stuff like that. Just bad game design, lack of QA or something. I don't know. All right. And we wait. Feel free to take a bathroom break. Make some dinner. Or breakfast, I guess, since this is rolling out in the morning. Okay. Halfway to my high score. I'm not optimistic. Whoop. Not optimistic at all. My hand actually slipped off the joystick that time. You really want to, kind of going off of an issue that I was describing earlier, you really want to time your last harpoon in that upper lagoon to being when you are practically in the cauldron already, because you don't want to give the fish time to respawn in there while you're there. Okay. Making some headway here. So, as things stand, I'm pretty much going to have to successfully do two more runs. Oh, jeez. See, you just saw it in action. That shark just appeared out of thin air and ate me. Well, there you have it, folks. Sea Hunt. Fun game if you can kind of get over some of the quirks, but it is frustrating, and you'd be forgiven for just saying no thanks to this one. Until next time, stay blocky.